Video and photo backlogs can leave you overwhelmed, exhausted, and burnt out. We've been there, and our fears of outsourcing stopped us in the past. Can you find an editor as invested in your brand as you are? Will other photographers and filmmakers we network with look down on us for not editing everything on our own? That fear of outsourcing can be detrimental to your career. That's why we love our partnership with Weditor. Their attention to details with not only our work, but also their care for their clients through all steps of the outsourcing process lets us fully step back from editing and focus on what we love, knowing our work is receiving the attention it needs. More than just editing, Weditor is passionate about demystifying the outsourcing market. Follow Weditor on Instagram at we_r_Weditor for free educational tips, tools, and resources to guide you through the insanity of today's editing market. For an even deeper dive, follow Weditor's blog at weditor.com/outsourcing.
Welcome to the We Got You podcast, a network curated for wedding photographers and filmmakers that dives deep into the strategies and tactics to transitioning a side hustle in the wedding industry into a full-time, thriving career. We're your hosts, luxury wedding filmmaker Emma K. Films and luxury destination wedding photographer Hannah Brook Photography. It wasn't too long ago that we picked up our cameras for the first time, having absolutely no idea where it would lead us. Years later, we're traveling the globe for beautiful destination weddings, built our dream lifestyles, and run multi-six-figure careers. It didn't happen overnight and it wasn't easy, but it is attainable and so worth it. And we're ready to teach you our strategies. Covering a variety of topics from both our firsthand experiences and reputable guest speakers' insights crucial for business growth, we're exploring the art of marketing within your niche, discussing effective ways to attract and retain clients, leverage social media, and build a strong online presence, and so much more. We're not shying away from talking through the challenges of the wedding industry and offering realistic solutions to navigate them successfully. We emphasize the importance of networking, establishing meaningful relationships with clients, and continuously honing one's craft to stand out in a competitive market. This is the We Got You podcast.
Hello, We Got You podcast. It's another Monday, wherever you're listening from, in your car, at home, in the office, whether it's morning, afternoon, or a late night, listen to our podcast. We are so thankful that you're here with us for another episode. Today, we get to talk to a dear friend about getting into the destination elopement market. We are here and so excited to welcome Nicole Day from Ember and Stone Events, a destination elopement planner from Las Vegas. And we really want to talk with you about how you as a photographer or videographer can market and work on getting into the destination elopement space with a high-end destination planner. I know for a lot of you out there, you may be really enjoying doing elopements, but you want to get into more of like the high-end elopement space, or you really want to start pushing destination weddings. And honestly, there was genuinely no one better than Nicole that we felt could talk on this. So Nicole, thank you so much for being on today's episode. How are you?
I'm so good. It is just the beginning of our wedding season out here. So we're just like breaking into it, all the good stuff, elopements and all of that fun adventure and, the classic Vegas elopements are running all starting now. So, it's definitely busy. So that's good. We love that. Busy is good.
Yes, busy is good. Love to hear that. And I remember literally, what was it? Last April, you and I were able to work together for our first wedding. And I remember it was an intimate wedding, absolutely beautiful. I will never forget coming to Las Vegas for this wedding. And it was just like screaming like Barbie, like it was like the pinks and the whites and like, oh, it was such a vibe. But anyways, it was so great getting to work with you. And I was like, oh my gosh, Nicole genuinely just has so much knowledge. Like I knew that it would just be a perfect fit to talk on today's episode. So with all of that, obviously we want to dive into the elopement market and getting in and destination weddings and all of that. But beforehand, would love to know just some background about you for our audience who may not know you. Would just love to know how you got started as a wedding planner and, where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually came from corporate event design. So in the mix of COVID, all the crazy stuff, I was working for a corporate event company in 2020. Literally was my dream job. I could have retired doing it. It was amazing. I loved it. I looked forward to going to work every day. It was great. March comes around and I would like to call it the great layoff happens. And especially like with Las Vegas. I mean, we got hit so bad because of the hospitality tourism industry is just like, oh, nope, hey, we got to pause, right? So I did weddings on the side and interned and worked with a bunch of different planners in town and a florist and a catering company because I'm a very busy, I love to be busy. If I have any downtime, it's not good for me. So I filled my schedule with just, learning constantly the industry and everything. At first, I never really was like, oh, I want to open my own company or anything like that. But with getting laid off and again, having to be a busy person, I felt like there was no better opportunity than to open up a wedding company in the middle of pandemic, all the crazy stuff, right? So, but again, because of what was going on, everything, there was only allowance of smaller weddings. So the elopements, micro weddings, all that good stuff, which truly, I mean, we do bigger weddings, all that fun stuff, but I love elopements. I love elopements. I love micro weddings. I love the intimacy, oh my gosh, the wildness and the freeness of it just being about the two of you, and you're making decisions just like based off exactly what you want to do. And you can, and then I was like, wow, there's such a lack of uniqueness and like the luxury touch of elopements, because I mean, everyone, whenever you think of elopements, it's like running off to the chapel or just the two of you and you're just going to the courthouse. But like, God, there is such a mismarket in this area. And I was like, well, like I'll be that person. Like, because we also wanted to elope. We got engaged actually in 2020 in February. Still engaged. We're working on it. Don't marry a wedding planner is my my understanding apparently. But we found that like we just keep going back and forth about like let's just elope. Like, but I wanted something that was more than just like that typical runaway. So we started offering like luxury elopements. So kind of what that included was everything was included. So I had your photographer included, videographer. You had like an arch that was like drama. Like we had, like a little sweetheart table that was included with like a grazing table. And what else we did? Like cake, all these different things that gave you all the different touches that everyone loves about your traditional wedding without that ginormous price tag of the wedding. And again, like the guest, like I feel like all the time, like your budget continuously will go up because of your guest count. So you can have the best of both worlds is what I was kind of trying to do. So now here we are.
I think that's so incredible because it's like pivoting where there's so many people that I hear wish that they had done a smaller wedding, but they love the experience from their wedding day of like, that like luxury feel or like the, all the vendors or, it being this like massive party or whatnot, but they wish that they had less people or less guest count or a more intimate wedding. So it's really cool to hear like that pivot and like, that is possible, and I feel like that's kind of almost like a small spot in the industry that like people don't really dive into as much. And so it's like cool to have that be something that you guys offer because there's either, I feel like a lot of people assume it's either elopement, you run off, like you said, like it's just you two at a chapel or you run off into the woods and you get married with an officiant, or it's a giant wedding. Like I feel like almost like society see that middle ground. So it's so incredible.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes even as a vendor, like as a videographer and photographer, even a florist, like I feel like sometimes people are scared sometimes to even get into this industry and be like, I am an elopement, vendor, right? Because people think there's not a lot of money in it, but you are wrong. Like you are absolutely wrong because there's absolutely clients out there that want, I mean, our average package for like like they're gonna include like 6 hours of photo and video, and that's a great day. Like even like we can go up to 8 hours, and that's gonna include your getting ready, the ceremony, bridals, a second location, like it. And guess what, as the vendor, it's so much more stress-free for you. You get to be more creative with your time. You're not worried about getting the 40 combinations of the family shot list. Like I feel like it just can enhance you as a vendor so much and make you better at what you do for larger weddings, really. So yeah, like but it shouldn't be a scary approach. Like, and I would say like even like our average packages could range from like 8,000 to like 20,000. So like we have clients that really do want to go all out, and spending that much compared to spending like 150,000 or more on your wedding is, I mean, sign me up. Like, sounds good. So, yeah.
That's amazing. But also, like, it's good to hear too that there's like money in it, I guess, because I think a lot of people shy away from elopements because they think, oh, I have to do like high-end weddings or luxury weddings to like make a living off of it. But that's why it's like we were so excited to do this episode, is because there is high-end elopements. You know, there is like big like events that you can do where there is a more intimate feel too. And kind of when talking about that, talking about like prices and budget and everything for people, I'm really curious to hear from you. This is kind of like a two-part question.
Yeah.
But have you felt at all like a shift in the industry, you know, when talking about the number of clients planning weddings versus elopements, and then also like budgets when it comes to what they're putting towards their wedding or putting towards their elopement within the last couple years? Like, I don't know, do you think people are doing more elopements post-COVID, or kind of going back into the wedding vibe, or budgets are changing? What do you feel like is like going in the trend right now?
Oh, okay. So I feel like right now we're having like another flip. So when COVID first started, I definitely felt like, okay, obviously, like we only can do elopement. So sounds good. So elopements were very popular, I would say, up until like probably around like, say, like going in the fall for 2022. I feel like then you started to see like more of like the micro wedding, and then slowly evolving into like now we're back to like your traditional wedding, et cetera, et cetera. But with the cost of how much weddings are nowadays, and I mean, oh God, like what $30,000 could have gotten you, like for even like 15 people, now, oh gosh, like maybe that's escalated to like you have to have a minimum of like 75,000. I personally think like that in minimum to have like just a wedding that even somewhat resembles Pinterest, or, you know, the vision that you've always dreamed of. Just, and like that's just because it's gotten more expensive. Like, and every vendor has gotten more expensive. And it's not because everyone's raising their pricing, blah, blah. It's truly just because the cost of living and goods and products has all gone up. Like, I think that's really, it's just really hard as even like a wedding vendor where like you know, my flower cost, my average arch used to be like maybe like $1,200. Now it's like 1,700, and like those little dollars just averagely keep adding up. And those are just for like elopements, right? Like, so I feel like we will start to see more of a shift back into elopements again. But I also feel like there's going to be a very big shift into this micro wedding, where I would say like your average micro wedding is going to be like up to 50 guests. And it's still going to be all those traditional elements of like the ceremony and the reception. But again, it's more intimate. You can still keep that, you know, I always say like $1,000 to like $1,500 a person is a good average budget when you're looking at food, beverage, blah, blah. So I feel like we're going to start seeing like elopements and micro-weddings really take off again, because people still want these beautiful experiences, and they don't want to spend $100,000, but they also are now really appreciating who's there. Then that's huge. Like, that is huge. And I think that's going to be, it's a good shift. Like, it's a really good shift. And again, like you still need all the vendors a part of your day. So marketing to both of these types of clients is very beneficial to you, like very much.
Okay, I love hearing your perspective because honestly, I couldn't agree more. And I feel like the wedding industry really does kind of go in these ebbs and flows where, like, obviously during COVID, elopements were booming. And so, like, these are like the post-COVID few years where everyone's like, oh, like, I can have a big wedding again, you know? And I think we have seen, like, that need for like the more intimate weddings where like a lot of people now are doing these like destination weddings where they like bring maybe 30 people and they're like much smaller than traditional weddings. But yeah, like you said, like a lot of it has gone back to the large wedding type of feel. But again, like it will come in those ebbs and flows where we'll see some years will be really heavy with elopements and vice versa. So I think it's cool to hear that perspective. I guess thinking like, as a wedding photographer or wedding videographer, who's marketing to try to get into the destination market or necessarily like trying to get into the elopement space. Like coming from your perspective as a destination elopement planner, do you think it's necessary? Like, are you when you're looking for new videographers or new photographers to work with, when you look at their social media, is it important that like they're only showcasing elopements to you? And I know it's like not make or break, but if you see someone kind of marketing all the niches, like, are you super inclined to learn more, considering you're looking for like a new photographer or videographer to work with?
Absolutely. Honestly, I look at like I'm looking at your styling. I'm looking at how creative you are. I'm looking at looking at your profile and your page on Instagram, say, right? I'm going to look at, like, how do you feel comfortable shooting in different landscapes? Is there a variety of landscapes on your page? Like, how do you feel about, working in your non-traditional venues of like inside a ballroom or like indoor, even just indoors? Like, is there a variety on your page of like, you can work in both? Because with elopements, they're traditionally outside, right? They are more traditionally in different, more unique locations. So, when I'm looking for different videographers and photographers, I want to know, like, are you experienced enough to know that you're going to need to bring like 16 different battery packs and, however many cars you need to be outside at a location where we don't got plugs? Like, like,
Yes.
it just, and just different things like that. And, it's funny though, because I have actually ran into a situation where I worked with an elopement photographer, and we had a full service wedding, and I felt like they actually were like not as educated on the full service wedding because they only shoot elopements. So it almost is more beneficial to be able to do the larger weddings, because with a larger wedding, I feel like you have to be more creative because you're there usually for a longer length of time. And so like you have to fill in the space with like, however many like minutes your video is, or like, the different moments on the wedding day. But I feel like it really just comes down to creativity. If you're an expert, you're going to know like your landscapes and the different, how you're going to edit all those things. But it really at the end of the day is about how are you as a storyteller? Am I going to feel the same way looking at the gallery and the video as a full service wedding as I am an elopement? Because that's your perfect person that can execute both perfectly, right? So, yeah.
Okay, I love hearing that perspective. And I think it honestly shows too, like, just the importance of showing variety, right? And it's like, just because you do elopements doesn't mean that you're still, especially your brand, like you're still obviously doing incredible like builds for weddings and like a lot of the design process for like your full service weddings that are like more traditional and larger guest counts. And so like as a videographer or photographer, it's like, how can we showcase to you that is what we're working with as well? And like, we're able to like be flexible and adapt to multiple different weddings, whether it be a destination wedding or an elopement or a more traditional wedding. So I think it's cool that when you're looking at someone's social media, you're like, okay, like, can they do it all? Like, because it is important to know, like, obviously how you shoot a wedding is different than how you shoot an elopement. And like, at the end of the day, like, especially from a planner's perspective, I feel like you need to know that the quality of their film or their photos are going to be incredible and match what you're seeing on their social media, because like you're representing your client when you're referring like photo and video.
Does your current client delivery system feel unexciting, limiting, and boring? Maybe you're still using good old Google Drive or Dropbox to deliver your clients' wedding films. If the answer to these is yes, it's time to level up your video delivery experience with VidFlow. VidFlow is a pay-per-use online platform that allows you to deliver fully branded websites for each of your clients. While being incredibly affordable, VidFlow is accessible on mobile, desktop, and smart TVs with included long-term hosting so that your clients can truly enjoy the entire experience when receiving their wedding films. When I first found VidFlow, it was such an easy switch that truly benefited my business substantially. With so many incredible features and options for customization and personalization, VidFlow continues to wow my clients time and time again. You can find VidFlow on Instagram or visit their website at vidflow.co. Use our code WGY20 for 20% off a yearly premium membership and level up your client experience today with VidFlow.
So like, what would you say is like maybe the biggest mistake that you see when you're looking on a photographer or videographer social media, and you're like, hey, I'm looking for someone new to, add to your preferred vendor list, or just someone new to network with. What would you say is a mistake that they're making when you know that they're obviously trying to get into the elopement or the destination wedding space?
Ooh, that is a good question. Let's see. I would just say really like not being open is huge. I feel like, or believing in yourself. Like, I feel like a lot of times, like, they just may not feel confident enough to know that they can do both. And like, you can tell like how someone's feeling about that, like even just in their first initial reactions with you, or I've definitely had situations where someone like will reject the work and because it's just an elopement. And that's like, it's almost more hurtful because it's like, dang, like you're missing out because this is going to be an absolute incredible day. It's just it's going to look a little bit different than what you're used to. And I think again, like I had said before, like it can just make you a better person whenever you're able to do both. So yeah, I mean, and also too, like I don't know, we do very different elopements. Like it's just when I think of how we do elopements and our luxury experience, it's not just like, okay, go get married, etc. Like there's excursions a part of this. Like we've gone on, like we had an elopement in Greece. It was just the two of them, me, the photographer, and my other planner, and we did a yacht ride with them. Like, are you like that's incredible? And again, like that is just like it's being able to be diverse in what you're doing.
Yeah.
I always even tell my clients, because we have like all-inclusive makeup vendors and hair vendors, all these other people too, right? And I will never recommend or work with someone that cannot work with all types of people, all types of hair types, makeup types, skin types. Like if you're not an expert in every aspect of your business, like you're not good enough to work with my client, but they deserve the best and I want to give them the best. So if you're not open to ideas, then I just don't think it's going to work. So in the nicest way, like,
Yeah. Well, and I mean, thinking about it too, it's like, I think so many people are, excuse me, so many people are like nervous or, scared because it is out of their comfort zone because they're used to that like 8-hour or 10-hour wedding day where they know exactly what's going to happen. This is the father's like first look and then the groom's first look. And, they have that timeline where it's like going to be the exact same every time. And they almost get like,
copy and paste, right?
Yeah, like comfortable or content with, okay, this is how it's going to be, where then they don't challenge themselves of like, okay, like I want to get creative or I want to do something different or I want to deliver a gallery that is so wildly different from my last gallery because it fits the couple and the experience versus just, oh, it's like different colors or a different vibe of the bride and groom. Like you want to be able to get creative, get out of that comfort zone. And I think so many people miss that because in the first few years of, your wedding business, you're growing so much. And then once you feel like you like niche down and get into, what you feel like you're supposed to be doing, I think a lot of people stay content. And that's where they kind of like,
yes.
Yeah. And so it makes sense where you're saying like some people might not, might turn down some work or might not recognize it for what it is because they just haven't experienced it. And it's so sad because it sounds absolutely incredible. And I like cannot imagine anybody not wanting to do those kind of elopements, especially when that space exists where it's not just a couple running away to a chapel. There is an actual like experience attached to it. And it is more than just a quote unquote elopement. So it's really incredible to hear that, especially from your perspective and stuff. And with you having so much experience in it, for people who are hoping to, get in with destination elopement planners, but might have never met them in the past or don't have that connection yet, what are a couple of tips that you would like give to photographers or videographers to, get in with elopement planners to hopefully work with them or, create that networking connection?
I mean, I'm a big fan of styled shoots, right? Like, I think that is super important whenever building your profile. And, as a vendor, you hear, do styled shoots, don't do styled shoots, show them on your page, but don't show them on your page, right? It's all a mixture of emotions for them. But I feel like if you are wanting and getting open to that type of market and stuff, I feel like it's really about location, and going and exploring these locations and being an expert and having experience there, right? So for me, like my client's going to trust me way more over, another planner even because I've been to like Yosemite. I've done a wedding in Glacier National Park. Like I've been to Greece and I've done an elopement. Like someone's going to trust me over someone else that maybe doesn't have that experience or knowledge of the different steps it takes to like be in that type of environment, right? Because there's a lot of logistics with just working outside. So like being knowledgeable about those types of environments is going to help you a lot. So doing like styled shoots in these environments is going to teach you how to like be in those environments and work in those environments and edit in those environments before having to do that with a client, right? But then you're also going to learn like, okay, it took me an hour to get into Yosemite. It was 5 a.m. because that's the best time to go there and have a wedding, because you want to get sunrise and there's not that many people and, et cetera, et cetera. But like, you're not going to know those things until you do it yourself. And go on a family trip. It doesn't have to be work all the time, right? Like go explore like these beautiful locations that are known for doing elopements and stuff. Like that's how you're going to learn like where's the closest restroom? Like it's just these little things that like as a vendor, like a photographer and like videographer, all these things, like you just want to be as knowledgeable about the location you're in as possible. And when I'm even like suggesting new locations to my client, like I'm like, hey, like, okay, you're going to like this location. You'll like Valley of Fire more than you'll like Red Rock because Red Rock's going to have more of this like greenery around it versus Red Rock's that true, beautiful, like red rock that you're looking for. And as the vendor, I'm the expert. I'm supposed to be the expert for the client. So like just making yourself an expert on these different experiences that you're looking for, all like amazing. I feel like when it comes to your profile, like showcasing maybe some different like landscapes or behind the scenes, like our queen, like I can't say enough about like posting about where you're traveling, where you're going to, even if you're just stopping by for 5 seconds, like as someone looking for someone that wants to get into that industry and these different locations, like just go visit them. Like show that you're there. Like that's going to, as a client, I want to see that you have experience in these different places and that will I'll feel better about it. Right. So yeah, and then connecting with the local market too is great. Like me as a Vegas planner, like, hey, I'm going to be out here. Like I've been wanting to shoot a wedding in Vegas and stuff. Like I feel like that can work sometimes. It just kind of depends. But bringing me a client, I'll create all day for them. I feel like with elopements, sometimes you're reaching out to the photographer first, or videographer first, like because a lot of people just are like, I only need that, and you're like, you need more. So then I come in, right? So yeah, just networking. Networking is huge, right?
I love that. And I love how there's such an emphasis on like, go get that experience. It's like, if you don't have the content, if you don't have the portfolio, then go out and create it for yourself, like show that you have that knowledge, show that you have the experience, regardless of whether it's personally or professionally. Cause like I have not filmed in Madrid, Spain, right? But I've been there personally and I marketed it on my film page when I went and filmed there. And I didn't have a client actually there in Madrid. But that led me to a year from then, like now getting an inquiry, and I'm able to say, I've been to Madrid, I know the travel logistics, and that has given me such a leg up when booking the client because I've already done a lot of the work there. I've traveled there. I know what it's like. I've experienced that without even having an actual client. And I think that is so undervalued when we think about like, there is so much value that I can offer, even if I haven't filmed there yet, just because I've been there, because I understand what the logistics look like. So I love hearing your perspective on that. Oh my gosh. Well, Nikki, I feel like honestly, we could talk all day about the destination wedding market and elopements, but it has honestly been such a breath of fresh air to just hear from your perspective and what you think is going on with the industry over the last few years and now, and also just what wedding photographers and wedding videographers who want to get into the elopement space should be looking for. all that to be said, we're going to put all your contact info in the show notes below, but we definitely want to make sure if anyone's listening in the car and is just listening right now, we would love for you to give us your website and your Instagram handle, and what the best way for people to reach out to you is if they want to kind of follow you along on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is emberandstoneevents.com. So that's Ember with an E. I always laugh because everyone's like, why that? I'm like, oh, well, I'm an Aries. So I have a nice, beautiful fire sign with me there. And then Instagram is going to be Ember and Stone Events on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all the fun stuff. So definitely follow along. See all the crazy places we go. I mean, it's awesome. And definitely, anything I have to, recommend, like, don't be afraid to get into this industry. It's an amazing industry. And more people should be a part of it. So yay.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. And if you don't follow Nikki, you definitely need to be such a bright light. And we so appreciate you for coming on the podcast with us. For everyone who's listening, we will see you next week on the We Got You podcast. And thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the We Got You podcast. We would absolutely love it if you could take an extra minute to leave us a review and let us know what you think. DM us a screenshot of it and we'll send you a coffee on us. If you want access to an exclusive community, rad freebies, giveaways, and wedding referrals, then join our Facebook group today. Also, if you aren't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure that you're following along on Instagram at WeGotYou_podcast to stay up to date. We'll see you next week on the We Got You podcast.